Good afternoon everybody, welcome to the 3 PM Bake Along. Today we are making chocolate concrete. Now it's been a million years since we baked live together, all 5 days, but it feels like a million years, feels like a very long time. So we're going to have some fun today and we're going to make chocolate concrete like they used to make in school. Now if your school was anything like mine, you had two options for dessert, chocolate concrete and pink custard or cracknel. Now I usually went for the cracknel, but we've already made that. So let's try and make some chocolate concrete. It's got to be nice. I mean, calling a cake concrete is never really the best idea. It's not really, doesn't sound appealing, does it? It sounds like something that's going to break your teeth, but it still tastes pretty good. And the best thing about this recipe is it's really quick and simple and doesn't use a lot of ingredients. All you need is butter, granulated sugar, self-raising flour, cocoa and an egg, and that's it. And it's really simple to whip up. So if your kids love chocolate desserts and chocolate cake and stuff like that, but you don't want to spend hours making a sponge cake or something like that, this is the recipe for you. It's really easy, really simple, really quick, and it's chocolate cake at the end of the day, so they're going to like it. Right then, the only other things you will need are a bowl and a weighing scales, trusty weighing scales, a couple of spatulas, always come in handy, and a whisk. Now you can use an electric whisk if you don't have a whisk like this, but this will do just fine. Doesn't need a lot of whipping or anything like that, so if you want to use a manual whisk, hand whisk like this, absolutely do it. If you would rather use your electric whisk or you don't have one like this, use the electric one. Anything will work with this recipe. Hello, welcome to Tuesday. It's Tuesday. And we're baking again, live on Facebook, la la la. I'll stick to the baking, let's not start singing a song. Right, let's get the video up and running. My Facebook is slower than usual today. My very slow laptop. There it is. Let's bring it up. Right then, so we are going to be making and baking our chocolate concrete in a tray bake tin just like this. So this is what I use for brownies and millionaire shortbread. It's quite a deep tray bake or roasting tin, I suppose, and I've lined it with some tin foil. So carry on, line your baking tray with some tin foil, or baking paper will work as well if you're happy to use that. I like using foil because it's much easier to smush into my baking tray. Right. So, as I said, this recipe is really, really easy. We only need one bowl and one mixing tool. It doesn't really need anything else at all. It's really simple and it bakes relatively quickly. So it's going to take us about 15 minutes or so to get the mixture ready to go into the oven, and then it's going to take about 15 minutes to bake. Half an hour and you've got something tasty to eat. What's bad about that? Nothing. Right, so let's get going. First thing we need to do is we need to melt our butter. Now I'm going to be melting mine in the microwave, but however you feel like melting your butter, carry on. If you want to do it in the pan, it's fine. I'm going to measure out my butter into a microwavable bowl and we're going to melt it, and that's as simple as that. That's all we need to do. So we need 160 grams of butter. Now you can use stork for this if you want to, or any kind of butter you like. In fact, I have a bit of butter left over in another wrapper, so I will use that first. And we need 160 grams. There we go. I've chopped it up to start with, just helps to speed up the melting process. We need 160 grams of butter. Ta-da-da. Not 170. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. 160, there we go. Now I'm going to pop it into the microwave for 10 seconds to melt, and I'm going to put it in 10 seconds at a time just so I make sure that it doesn't start bubbling or burning. In it goes into the microwave, and we're putting it in for, let's put it in for 20 seconds to start with. So we're just going to melt it in slow increments so that butter does weird things in the microwave. It tends to pop. If you've ever left your butter in the microwave for too long, it does very strange things. It pops and sprays butter all over your microwave. And that's not good now, is it? Hi, Karina! Chocolate concrete, yeah. This was a school treat in the Solihull borough, I can tell you. In the Birmingham schools, chocolate concrete was the biz. I mean, to be fair, it was pretty much as it sounds. It was kind of like, it's a cross between a biscuit and a cake. It's like a chocolate biscake, that's what it is, chocolate biscake. Now my butter has come out of the microwave, it's been for 20 seconds and it's almost completely melted already. So I'm going to give it a bit of a mix, break it up, that's going to help it to melt a bit quicker and make sure we don't overheat it. And then I'm putting it back in the microwave for 10 more seconds. So yeah, I remember this at school. Generally, it was always served with the option of pink custard, which wasn't custard at all. It was kind of runny, gloopy, lumpy grossness. So we won't be making any pink custard today, because our custard, we've already learned how to make in previous videos, is much nicer. And it's a nice, I kind of think of it as a summertime recipe, I don't know why. Like we made sticky toffee pudding and apple crumble, and they're kind of always remind me of like wintertime desserts when it's cold and all you want is a nice hot pudding. And this always reminds me of a summer dessert with a nice cold scoop of ice cream or something like that. So that is why I thought we'll whip up some chocolate concrete. My butter is nearly melted, I've just put it back in for another 10 seconds. Hi everyone, hi, welcome to Tuesday's Bake. We're making chocolate concrete, everyone. It's going to be great. Yeah, cracknel was always my go-to treat at school, but we've already learned how to make cracknel. So instead, we're going to whip up chocolate concrete. I can't remember any other desserts, although I do remember chicken burgers were always a popular food at school. Clearly, I ate really healthy. If you've seen my school pictures, you'll know that I didn't. Right then, my butter is completely melted. You can hear it sloshing around. That's all you need. Melted butter in your bowl, 160 grams of it to be precise, and then we're going to add to that everything else. Everything else is just going to go in on top of this one at a time. We're going to start off with the sugar. So this recipe calls for granulated sugar. Now there are not many cake recipes that ask for this, and the reason being it's quite heavy. Because the granules are quite large, it makes the cake quite heavy, and it sometimes makes a sponge sink. But this is going to be quite a dense and quite a hard cake kind of biscuit texture anyway. So we can use granulated sugar. And you can in fact use brown sugar if you wanted to, like a demerara sugar or something like that. That will work just as well as well. Gives it a bit of extra flavour. So we are putting in 175 grams of granulated sugar. So, whoop, yeah, so this is going to give it a bit of a denser and heavier texture. And the other thing that's going to make it a bit denser and a bit heavier, as you'll see now, is we're not going to be whipping it up. We're not really wanting to put any air into this recipe. I'm literally just using my whisk to combine the sugar and the butter, and to start the sugar dissolving ever so slightly. But we're not going to whip it up loads, we're not going to add any air into it or anything like that, because we kind of want our cake, our chocolate concrete, to be quite dense really, and quite firm. So we don't need to lighten it up by whipping our eggs. We do have some raising agent in our flour, which we are going to add next. But this is all the raising agent that we have. So it's going to be a pretty dense, heavy little cake. Now we're adding 225 grams of self-raising flour, and I'm not even sieving it. See, all the cake rules are just going right out the window. 225 grams of self-raising flour going in there, and then I'm putting in the cocoa as well before I mix this. So I'm going to get a little spoon for the cocoa, and we want 25 grams of cocoa. Oh, I'm running low on cocoa. That will be the next thing I need to put on my shopping list. 25 grams of cocoa. And then we're going to use our whisk again, and we're going to mix this in to the butter and sugar. Now this is going to take a bit of time, and it's also going to create a very dense kind of a paste. It's all getting stuck in my whisk already. So you might need to swap to a spatula part way through, which I'm going to do now. Look at that, that was a fail. Use your spatulas instead of using your whisk. The whisk isn't going to do much. So this is going to take a bit of muscle to mix the flour into the butter and the sugar. And it's very, very much like a kind of a cookie recipe really, isn't it? It's much more like a biscuit than a cake. So we're just mixing in the flour and the cocoa into the butter and the sugar. Woo, there we go. And then we're going to put the egg in and mix that in as well. And then our chocolate concrete, our rock cake I was going to say, it's very much like rock cake. Our chocolate concrete is done and ready to go in the oven. Simple as that. On a nice sunny Tuesday afternoon, we can spend the rest of the day in the garden. Yes, we can. So we're going to add our egg, but we're going to give it a bit of a whip first. Not a big whip. Not a big whip, just a little whip. We're going to give it a little bit of a whisk, just with a fork. Lightly beat your egg, beat it up, just to break it up and mix the yolk into the white. Kind of starts to break down the membranes in the egg, so that it combines easier into the rest of our ingredients. Jingle jangle. Right, add a little bit. Woo! And we're going to mix that in. Make sure that it mixes all into that quite heavy biscuit-like texture of our cake batter. And once that's all mixed in, we can add the rest. Now, do not waste any of your egg. Make sure all your egg gets in there, because this is the only other moisture that our cake has. It already smells like chocolate concrete. How weird is that? I mean, this is basically normal cake ingredients, but it smells more like chocolate concrete. Very nostalgic smell. How weird. Gosh, I never thought that would happen. That's weird. Smells like school. Right. So there we go. You should end up with a very thick paste kind of consistency. Now you could make this into cookie shapes if you want, because it is very much like a cookie recipe. And in fact, we're going to be making something very similar on Thursday when we make our dairy-free chocolate cookies. So this will give you a bit of an insight into that. Now, once you're sure that all the egg is mixed in, we can bring over our baking tray and put our mixture in there and then put it in the oven. We're done. That's it. Not even 15 minutes. It's been like, what, 11 minutes, 12 minutes? So let's have a little recap before we pop this in the oven. So, the first thing we did was we melted our butter. We need 160 grams of butter, and we melted that in the microwave slowly, 10 seconds at a time, so that it didn't explode in the microwave. Always helpful. Then we added 175 grams of our granulated sugar to our melted butter and whisked it, just mixed it, didn't need to whip it up, just mixed it lightly with our whisk so that it was well combined. I've got a hiccup coming. Then we added our flour, 225 grams of self-raising flour. If you don't have self-raising flour, you can use plain flour and add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. It's the same thing. Then we added 25 grams of cocoa powder in on top of the flour and mixed that until it was a really thick, firm paste. Then we mixed in 1 beaten egg. And that's what we've come up with. Are you ready? Chocolate concrete. Right there, that's all it is. It's basically like a giant cookie. Whoop. Now, this is where like lining paper just drives me mad. So what we need to do is we need to spread our chocolate concrete out into our baking tray. Now, you're going to find that it seems as though there's not enough mixture to fill the tray, but you want it quite thin. So take your time and spread out the mixture relatively thinly so that it fills the whole baking tray. Take a little bit of time, but because we want a nice thin slab of chocolate concrete, it will spread, so just spread it quite thinly. There we go. These rubber spatulas are brilliant. This is silicone spatulas because nothing sticks to them. They don't stick. You can spread and spread and spread with them and mix whatever you like, and hardly anything sticks to it. Right, now make sure that it's all pushed in to the corners of your baking tray. You want it well spread out, press down, and then we're going to put it in the oven. And that's absolutely all we need to do. Woo. You need to preheat your oven to 170 degrees, which is 150 degrees for fan ovens, I think. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Done. Right, let's have a little check, make sure everyone's doing all right. Hi everyone. If you're following along, let me know, make sure you're all right. If you're not, then say hello anyway. Hi everyone, here's our chocolate concrete and I'm putting it in the oven, and that's as simple as that. In it goes, into the oven, 170 degrees, and it's going to be in there for about 20 minutes. But let's set our alarm for 10 minutes, and we'll check it after 10. Done? That's it, 15 minutes to prepare, 15 minutes in the oven, and our day's done. Our day of baking is complete. Right, let's have a tidy up, shall we? I've already thought of the song, I've preempted the mind block of song. Alexa, play We Built This City on Rock and Roll. Let's hope she can play it.
We Built This City by Starship on Amazon Music.
I never know the name. This is what we're going to listen to, everyone. Alexa, volume 10, while we clean up the kitchen.
We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. Say you don't know me, or recognize my face. Say you don't get close to that kind of place. Lean in the hookah, sinking in your fight. We got to make progress, eating up the night. My calling plays the rumba. Listen to the radio. Don't you remember? We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. We built this city.
Alexa, stop. So, I have some news for you. It's kind of sad news, a little bit. Next week will be my last week of live baking for the 3 PM Bake Along. It's come to kind of a nice progressive end. We've kind of reduced things as we've gone along. Doesn't mean it's the end of baking. The group will still be here with all the recipes in, and we'll be popping up from time to time. Hi Jim, where are you going? Where to? Why? Why? Don't leave me. Have a good day. Jim's just popping out, everyone. Don't worry. He'll be back. I've got a tag on him so I know where he goes. Yeah, so next week will be my last week of baking, and because it is the last week, I want you to send me in any requests that you might have. I've already had one for Saturday. So next Saturday we will be making sourdough bread. That's right, with our own sourdough starters, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. 170 degrees for your oven, so 170 degrees. Bit colder than your average recipe. It's because it's basically a rock. It's going to be stone in there. 170 degrees on your oven. Yeah, so last week of baking. So if there's anything that we haven't made yet that you'd like to make, or something that you've always wanted to make, or just your favourite dessert, let me know and I will add it to my list for the final week of baking. So I've already had one, and it's sourdough bread. We've made lots of different kinds of bread, and on Saturday we'll be making iced buns, another lovely bread recipe. So why not try our own sourdough? Now, if you would like to make sourdough, you need to make your own sourdough starter. Now this is quite long-winded, it takes about a week to make. So I'm going to put the full instructions up on Saturday so that you can prepare your starter for the following Saturday. It's basically flour and water, and that's all it is, but you need to feed it daily, and it creates its own yeast. So it's literally just flour and water, and when you leave it to ferment daily, it absorbs yeast from the atmosphere, your own home's yeast, very weird, air yeast, nice, and it becomes the rising agent for your sourdough bread. So I'm going to give you the instructions for that this Saturday so that you can prepare your own starter for next Saturday. Or if you know somebody who already has a starter, or maybe a shop or local bakery that makes their own sourdough, ask them if you can have some of their starter and you can make your own bread with that. Right now we need to finish our concrete cake, our chocolate concrete, which means that we need to prepare a little bit of icing. Now, where's my icing sugar? Here it is. So, we want to make a little bit of icing. Now, technically, we shouldn't have any icing. Real chocolate concrete is just that, chocolate concrete with a sprinkling of sugar on top. But, you know, you want to fancy it up a little bit. I'm not making any pink custard, so we want a little bit of icing, just to kind of drizzle over the top, to give it a little bit of softness and extra sweetness. So that's what we're going to do. And I've just decided that I'm going to make chocolate icing, if I've got enough cocoa. So here we are, again, really, really simple. If you're ever looking for the most simple icing for a cake, all you need is icing sugar and water, and that's it. So we're going to be using 100 grams or 200 grams of icing sugar, depending on how much icing you want. Maybe I'll do 200 and have like a full layer, thin layer on top of all of the chocolate concrete. Yeah, let's do that. So 200 grams of icing sugar into a bowl. 5 minutes left on our chocolate concrete for its first 10 minutes. So we're going to measure out, maybe we'll start off with 100, it's not going to fit in the bowl. Measure out our icing sugar, and I am using, let me see how much I can fit in this bowl. I can do 200, let's do 200. 200 grams of icing sugar into our bowl. Whoa, it's overflowing. No, it's okay. We're okay, everyone. 200 grams of icing sugar going into our bowl. It's always more fun when things go wrong, but, you know, a bit of a disaster. There we go, 200 grams of icing sugar. Then all you need is water. And the consistency of your icing depends on the amount of water that you add. Simple as that. So I'm going to get myself a little jug of water. And I'm going to add it a couple of tablespoons at a time. We'll probably pour a bit in to start with, until it's a nice thick consistency. Now, just do this slowly. There's no kind of right way to do it. You just take your time, add a little bit of water as you go, and make sure that water is well mixed in before you add any more. Sometimes you mix it a little bit and you think it's too dry and add more water, and then when you've actually properly mixed it in, it's too runny. So you're better off adding just a little bit of water at a time and mixing it each time, rather than adding too much water to start with and having to try and balance it out with more icing sugar. So, there we go, mixing, mixing, mixing. As you can see here, I've only added a couple of little dribbles, a couple of little dribbles of water, and yeah, it's worked quite well already. It's softened quite quickly and become a nice consistency already. There we go. We just want something relatively runny so that we can pour it on top of our concrete. It's so weird. It's calling it cake concrete. On top of our delicious concrete. And I'm going to see if I can make this chocolate, not cocoa. We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. Let's add a couple of teaspoons of cocoa. We need to buy some more cocoa anyway, so I may as well use it. Let's add 2 teaspoons, 2 heaped teaspoons, and we're going to mix that in gently, gently. This is where you get into a mess, and see how that goes. And then you've got chocolate icing. This is a great topping for cupcakes. If you can't be bothered to whip up proper buttercream, the use of an electric whisk and all of that, then just whip up some of this. You can make it chocolate, you can make it flavoured, you can make it nice colours. It doesn't tend to pipe very well because it always ends up relatively runny or softer, but you can get it as thick or as runny as you like really, and it's always tasty. So it's always going to add a nice flavour to the top of your cupcakes or biscuits or anything like that. If you made it really, really thick, I suppose you could kind of pipe with it, but it tends to settle. It doesn't really hold a shape like buttercream does. Buttercream, you can make it into like, you can make it into roses and you can shape it, but this is not going to do that so well. It kind of settles and loses its shape. Right, well I think that's enough cocoa, but I'm going to add a bit more water because I want a relatively pourable consistency to make it easy to put on top of my concrete, my lovely concrete cake. Mix it, add a little bit more water, and this is all you need to do. So I'm looking for a pourable consistency that I'm going to be able to spread over the top of my concrete. So just add a bit at a time, mixing after each addition. You need to give it quite a firm mix once it gets thick. There we go. Now that I think is still a little bit thick. Looks good though, good consistency. Add a little bit more water, and it's just trial and error really, until you know the kind of consistency that you're looking for. Our alarm's gone off. Stop what you're doing. Let's go to the oven. Quickly, to the oven. And we'll have a look at our concrete. Hello, concrete. Oh, it's looking concretey. What's that weird dip over there? Look at that. Some sort of divot in my concrete. What's happened there? I might have stabbed it a bit too much with my spatula. It is puffing up a little bit, so it's not going to be totally solid, but it's looking good. Now, as this is basically a cookie mixture, which I never knew, obviously, eating school chocolate concrete, if you took it out of the oven now and leave it to cool, you probably have a bit of a softer kind of texture, similar to soft cookies. So give that a go if you like. If you want to try having a soft textured kind of chocolate cookie slab, then whip it out a bit early, after about 10 minutes, and see how it goes. I want a bit of a firmer texture to mine, much more like a biscuit and school time chocolate concrete. So I'm going to leave mine in for another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to whip it out, and that's as simple as that. I love simple recipes. It's so nice because you still get something delicious at the end of it, but it's not quite so long-winded. Long-winded ones are fun, but generally good for a rainy day, not on a nice sunny day. You do not want to be in the kitchen all day on a nice sunny day. Now this, blob, good consistency for topping our chocolate concrete. And I'm even going to whip out, you know what, let's see what I've got in the way of sprinkles. I've got some chocolate sprinkles. Ta-da! I'm going to put some chocolate sprinkles on top. Do you know why? Because I can. That's why. Because I can. A tiny bit of cocoa left, so put that on my oh, Alexa, add cocoa powder to my shopping list. So technical.
I added cocoa powder to your shopping list.
Thanks, Alexa. Oh, the 21st century, everyone. Robots in your kitchen, putting things on your shopping list for you. I mean, it's paying because you have to go to the app to find a shopping list, but I wish you'd, like, as you left the house, she'd hand you your shopping list. Like, here you go. Are you going to the shop? Don't forget your shopping list. Right, icing is done. Cake is in the oven. We're pretty much done. Let's have another song. Let's have one for the girls. Let's have one for the girls. Alexa, play Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. It's for the ladies out there and the guys.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper on Amazon Music.
Nowadays, you will be able to people just want to have fun. People just want to have fun.
In the morning, like my mother says, when you gonna
state of the world falling down around you. All the terrible things going on in the world. People being so grumpy with each other. But we're baking, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, does it? We can have an hour, half an hour, of cheery times, forget about the plight of the poor human race, and just eat cake. Let them eat cake. That's what it's for. So, we've got 2 minutes left before I whip out my concrete. Let's see how the oven's doing. Yeah, temperature's holding. Oh, I have to tell you a travesty in my life. So, I may have told you if you watched previous bakes about my lovely violas. I've been getting into gardening, as most lockdown people have. Nothing better to do. So, I planted lots of lovely violas in my pots on my wall, and they flourished. They have flourished. I'm that green-fingered person, and they're beautiful. However, woke up this morning, and one of them one whole basket has just died. It's just literally overnight, it's just died, and I have no idea why. And I'm going to show you it because it's actually hilarious just how dead they are. And I went and had a look, and it looks as though some creature has sat in my violas. Yes, they've gotten up there and they've squashed them all. Now I don't even know what creature would do this, but I can't get too far otherwise. Can you see? I don't know whether I can zoom in here. Oh yes, I can. Look at that. Beautiful flowers on the right, dead flowers on the left. Some horrible creature has sat in my violas. Have you ever heard such a thing? Right, the alarm's gone off. Stop whinging about flowers. And let's bring our cake out of the oven. Have you ever heard of that? It's got to be like a cat or a squirrel or some sort of evil demon bird has just squashed them all, sat right in the middle, squished them all down, killed a lot of them. I've watered them and they're still looking very sad and I have no idea what to do. Try to prop them back up, give them all a little arm up, walking stick or something. Devastated, absolutely devastated. I can't believe it. I sat on my bones. Right, enough of that. Let's get the cake out of the oven. Right, it's had just over 15 minutes, so about 17 minutes. Let's whip it out. Ooh. It looks like a giant cookie. I've never realised in my life how similar it is to a biscuit. It's much more of a biscuit, isn't it? Looks good though. The middle looks a bit soft, but the edges are, woo, hot, hot, hot. Looks nice. I'm not going to bake it anymore. You can leave it baking for a good half an hour if you wanted to, and it has a much drier texture. But I don't want it to be too dry. I want it to be a little bit soft in the middle, kind of like a soft cookie. So I'm taking mine out of the oven now. I'm going to leave it to cool for a few minutes. Give it a waft, give it a waft. And then I'm going to pour my icing all over the top and leave it to set, which means I'm not going to be able to cut up and eat this for a little while. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spoon it out so that I can try it. I'm going to take a corner and I'm going to spoon it out. Oh. Hot, hot, hot. It looks very much like a cookie. It's very strange. Dun, 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 dun. But if you want to make like proper school concrete, didn't know what I was going to say then, chocolate concrete, then all you need to do is sprinkle the surface of this with a bit of granulated sugar and it's done. School ahoy! Oh, the fabulous dry texture of chocolate concrete. But it is dry, it's a weird recipe. I don't know, it's one of them where it's like, why would you make a dry chocolate cake? Because you need something dry sometimes to soak up other moist things. You can't always just have moist things. Sometimes you need something that's dry. And this is great if you've got like ice cream, favourite ice cream, custard, brilliant for custard. Anything else, moist caramel. Soak up your caramel with a nice dry piece of chocolate concrete. And that's exactly what it's for. So whip yourselves up some super dry chocolate cake. Not a moist, soft, fluffy chocolate cake, but dry, hard, concrete-like chocolate cake. You know why? Because we can. Because it's simple. Because it doesn't take very long. And because we used to have it at school, so it reminds us of better times and a better life when we didn't have to worry about viruses or police officers battering us to death on the streets. Right then, well, there you go. Your recipe is complete. If your chocolate concrete is looking a little bit soggy in the middle, I put it back in the oven for about 5 more minutes. Sometimes the baking time can vary depending on your oven, so if it's looking remarkably squishy in the middle, then I put it back in the oven for another 5 to 10 minutes until it's nice and firm. Mine is really quite firm all along the top. The middle, not quite as firm as the rest, but quite excited about the prospect of a soft concrete. So, as always, send me pictures of your recipes, smother them with icing, and I will see you on Thursday for a dairy-free recipe. I have been massively neglecting my dairy-free friends, and it's actually a vegan recipe. So, if you have any vegan friends and family, tell them that there is hope, because you can have chocolate cookies. They work really well. You just need vegan dark chocolate, coconut oil and flour, and that's it, and sugar. So all of those you can have if you're a vegan. Dust as well, you're allowed dust if you're a vegan. So carry on, and I will see you on Thursday for a dairy-free bake. Thanks for watching the 3 PM Bake Along. If anyone knows who sat on my violas, please send me a message. And also send me pictures of your bakes, because I love to see how they turn out, even if they're a complete disaster. In fact, most of the time, I prefer the disaster. So, I will see you all on Thursday. Have a lovely afternoon. Enjoy the sunshine. It's a glorious day. I don't know, my head's just descended into madness. And I'll see you on Thursday. Thank you so much. I love you all. Thank you for watching. See you Thursday, everyone. Bye.